In the next few minutes, what I want to do is I want to see if I can get you to distinguish how my work is different from a lot of other people's work out there. I'm going to give you an example of what happened to me the first class I did in this technology, and what got my curiosity so profoundly that I studied this work for 10 years, and now I'm fairly confident that I can help people create what I created. Over 22 years ago, I was looking for something. I wasn't sure what I was looking for, but I thought if I found it, I would know it. And after I did find it, I was right. I did know it. If you want to have a relatively lengthy discussion about the things I've done to look for what I was looking for, firewalks, Scientology, emotional healing workshops, transcendental meditation, Eckankar, the list is long and endless. I was a young doctor, I had money, and there was a certain amount of dissatisfaction in my system, and so I thought, let me see if I can find this experience that I had experienced at least once before. I think we all come onto the planet as really happy beings, and I think Buckminster Fuller says that life de-geniuses us. Maslow talks about a phenomenon called enculturation, which takes away our happiness and allows us to live less than magnificent, exceptional lives. At any rate, 22 years ago, maybe more, I guess, because my daughter's 22, I guess 23 or 24 years ago, I took a weekend class, and I was literally forced into the class. If I could force all y'all who are curious about this into my class, I wouldn't do it. I haven't, and I won't, but I would strongly recommend it, but I would also say that it may disrupt your lives completely, so you would have to honestly, realistically look at that. But I did a weekend. It consisted of Friday, Saturday, Sunday with a man named Martin Sage, and we sat in a room. There were 7 people in the room. I didn't know any of the other people. They were all women. I knew one of the other people. One was my associate doctor. And we talked about different things. We talked about, at that point, we didn't use the words operating system as I do, but I looked at my life and looked at how possibly I was living my life in kind of an upside-down manner. And that the weekend was filled with a lot of laughter, a lot of fun, no processing. We didn't have to hug anybody. We did get to touch each other, but there wasn't a lot of looking at problems or dealing with who made your life bad or anything like that. A lot of the questioning was around what do you want, and if you could do anything, what would you do? And then waiting for a particular response, which I personally was unconscious about. When the response that they were looking for hit me, I could feel physiological changes in my body, but it also scared me because I said something that when I was asked what I want, I'd been asked so many times and was so frustrated with the answer, I thought, well, I'll answer with something that I know I really don't want. And so I answered, well, I want a wife and kids, which was the farthest from the truth that I could even remotely imagine. And I could feel changes, but because I had thought of the biggest lie, and everybody said, oh, you've changed, you become younger, smarter, better looking, I thought, well, they're lying to me. But the bottom line is, on Monday, when I went back into my chiropractic office, everything was different. I mean, everything was different. It felt like I was floating on air. I said for years that all the differences were tangible, but I couldn't touch any of them. It didn't make any sense. And it was in a delightful way it didn't make any sense. My patients were friendlier, happier. My staff was happier, more curious, most of them. And then by Tuesday night, because the class went Friday, Saturday, Sunday, which is how I now run my courses, Tuesday night we went to a follow-up evening. And there wasn't a lot of pressure to bring friends or relatives or anything like that. It was just to see what was different. And if we wanted to bring friends, we were more than welcome to. And what had changed over the weekend. At the beginning of the evening, I walked up to the facilitator and I said, I don't know what's going on. I said, every cell in my body is laughing. I said, trillions of little laughters are going off. I said, I feel magnificent. And I said, I feel like the village idiot. And Martin looked at me and he laughed and he said, well, the class was Self-Actualization, Mick. And I reminded him that it would then have to be titled Dr. Village Idiot, because I was still quite stuck to my title. I mean, that was my ego presentation at the time. That's what got me curious about the work. It was this sensational experience. It was wonderful. Everything seemed right. Nothing made sense. Everything had a perfection to it. I was happy with me, which I hadn't been for years. The only other time that I can remember a similar state was shortly after my father died, and I delivered his eulogy, and I was walking back to my grandmother's house from the church, and I got this absolute sense of perfection, that everything in my dad's life had been perfect. At 67 years old, he committed suicide. Now, a lot of people would think that's not perfect, and I knew it wasn't perfect, but I also knew experientially that it was. I tried to rationalize it. My mind would come in, that little voice inside my head would come in and say, but he committed suicide, but he was only 67 years old. But somewhere deep inside, and it lasted for a few days, I got this absolute sense of perfection that my father had lived in, and somehow in his death he shared it to me. Then I struggled for years looking for it. Like I said, the number of things I did, and I would get done doing this, okay, that's not it. Held cans, I walked on hot coals, and I would get done and think, okay, it's good stuff, it's valuable stuff, but it's not what I'm looking for. When I got done at the end of this class called Self-Actualization, the sensation was similar, and I saw that my life had been perfect up until then and would continue to be perfect. Now, off and on over the years I've lost that, of course, but where I reestablished that is when I work with people. And this, if nothing else, is what people get out of my classes. They get this sense of perfection, this sense of fun, this sense of real life, that it's theirs, that they are them, and this is what they came here to live. And they've made no mistakes up until now. They've made only the correct judgments that have led them to where they can be. So I'm going to keep trying to distinguish them. I'm going to keep trying to get with y'all on this blog to get you to see if this is for you. I do classes all over the world. I've done them in Korea, Australia, America, England, and I love working. So I'm putting these blogs out to see if I can get more people to do more of my classes. If this sounds interesting, check out the rest of my blog, because I've got other things there. And then check out my schedule. I'll be working in England. If you don't see any classes that I'm offering, contact me. I am easily available. I go where people want me. If you help me organize a class, we'll look and see how to work together. Thank you very much for listening. Have a fun day. Bye.